Hey pals, it's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to give you guys any kind of update on what the project's doing, so I thought I would take the time, now that I have time, to do just that. Welcome to the second official update for Project Apollo. This covers the 18th of May all the way to the 7th of June. I've sort of incorporated the project into the last few tutorials, but the last time I said anything official about what I was working on was back when I was basically editing a tool for the game. So I haven't been able to really explain what I've been doing for quite a while. The game is currently pre-release. It's very close to release. Since what you last saw with the tile sets, I've been adding animated grass and ivy to the levels. These serve as indicators to let you know basically where you can land. You can stick to walls, you can land on the ground, so they create a nice yellow sort of animated indicator that yes, this is where you can land, taking a page out of Naughty Dog's book there. I also added a kind of stepped parallax to the game. When you transition between screens, the background moves up a specific distance, and that's obviously to show off as much of the background as I can show off. And basically the reason why it's so tall is that it serves to span multiple levels. So I created that. I also worked to reduce the level editing process all the way down to basically just setting tiles on the screen. I wanted to make this game really, really easy to make. So I didn't want to have to place anything in the scene. I wanted it just to be a tile-based game, which it now is. And those tiles are all part of the same tile set, which makes it really easy for me to create a level, play test it, that kind of thing. From there, I made a scrolling object that effectively places saved screen files onto a tile map as the player scrolls. So when you exit the north side of a screen, the immediate next thing that happens is another screen snaps into view, and you are repositioned to the bottom of that screen. So basically you're on like a treadmill, and the screens are loaded from behind the treadmill kind of thing, right? Off screen. Originally, that took a little bit of time to perform. There was about a hitch of just like a 20th of a second or a 10th of a second that was noticeable, and I didn't really like that. So what I did then was I made a buffer of like 2 or 3 screens and 3 screens off screen. That one loads basically over a number of frames, say 20 frames. Which means that the frame rate hit, instead of happening all at once, happens very, very slowly, and you never really notice it. And the player can't move fast enough to really beat that. So I basically have infinite scrolling levels now, as long as there's levels to load. I spent some time animating Apollo, specifically his jump. I might make a video with the highlights from that part of the stream, mostly because I think the process that I have for making jumps is really interesting and allows for very high fidelity, very nicely animated jump animations with very little code. And as long as you're prepared to do the animation frames, I think it's really, really effective. So I might make a video about that soon. So with all that level editing stuff out of the way, I started to get the idea that it might be interesting to allow the players to make their own levels too. And this was something that I spent a lot of time deliberating over. One of the reasons why I'm making this video now and not doing a more traditional kind of like highlights video that I would do is because I spent maybe 3 or 4 episodes in Leonardo, in the drawing app, just thinking about like how I would make the game as user generated as possible, where basically all of the tools that I use are available to you, the player. So I started thinking about how I could make a level editor, thinking about how I would save levels, how you would be able to create and save levels on the phone and then share them potentially between friends. So with that, I created basically a file format or a strategy for how I would format these screens to allow them to be as shareable as possible. And right now, it's basically come down to each tile can be represented as a pretty much 2-bit sort of square. There are 10 by 18 tiles that represent a screen, and it should be pretty easy to share a whole world of screens once I have the solution sort of in place. But I spent a lot of time making the decisions that would let me do that. So at that point, once I had the ability to save on the device, theoretically, I then put the game on on the phone, which was really, really easy to do in Unity. And I'm really happy with how quickly that was able to go from being like not a thing to fully functional 60 frames per second on my phone. It was like 10 minutes from just downloading the Android stuff to pressing build, putting it on my phone. The Unity libraries that handle mouse input basically are one-to-one with how Unity also handles touch input for Android devices. So I didn't have to change any of the input stuff. It worked straight away. And to get it to run at 60 frames per second was just a matter of setting the target frame rate to 60. So the game's pretty lightweight, and very quickly we had a playable version of the game running. From there, I started adding UI. So I had a dummy menu screen, a title screen where I started doing some UI work, and also a level editor. Along the way in there as well, I did sneak in one of the streams some time to do a font. So I created my own font for the game as well. It's called Apollo. I might also make a video showing how to do that. If not that video, like highlights from that stream, I might make a standalone video teaching you how to do your own fonts, because I think that was really, really fun, and it's something that I like to do. So maybe look forward to that one in future. Speaking of the level editor, I actually started working on a level editor toolbar in the game in its own scene, which allows you to pause the game, draw blocks that are physical, that work immediately as you place them, and also erase them, and then resume the game. So right now I've got like a fully functional level editor that behaves as you'd expect across any point in the game. The whole game runs on the same solution, so I could just let you pause the game and change it, but I won't. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it's coming at the moment. The level editor has been a really, really interesting step for the project, and I'm really happy with how quickly it came together. From here, I think what I'll be doing next is allowing you to save those levels that you make to a library, and then trying to create a kind of like a world file out of the screens in your library, and then have some sort of like shareable version. That's going to happen after the initial release of the game. So before I do that, I'll also be adding a bunch of my own levels, new backgrounds, new themes, which then the level editor will access. So I spent some time making a sort of theme file type, which includes a background, a tile set, the grass and the ivy. Those will be skinned or color swapped depending on the theme that you choose. And those themes will be things like different seasons, different environments, maybe a nighttime scene. You could think of like a sewer swampy scene, or like a winter tundra. Basically just different environments of the game to have. That allows you to see some different stuff as you traverse through it. On the horizon is also a little story and a tutorial. I'm not sure which release those will come in, but I have to do some thinking about how I'm going to be putting that all together. Hopefully though, I'll get a release out very, very soon. If you are a patron or a subscriber to me on Twitch, I will be placing the APK for the alpha version, the pre-release version, on Discord for you to download and give me feedback on if you're interested in doing that. So for those of you who want to get early access to the game, feel free to subscribe or become a patron. And for those of you who are just looking to catch the game when it comes out, you can look forward to that probably in the next week or so. I'm not 100% sure, but I've got to get a couple of extra things sorted out before it's going to be on the store, and then we have release. So thank you everybody for checking out the video. I'll catch you all very soon. Stay tuned for more tutorials and stuff like that. As I'm now settled in to my new apartment, I have no more distractions, and we can go back to full steam ahead development. Hey pal, thanks for watching, and thanks most especially to the patrons and Twitch subs who support this channel and my game dev project Insignia. To find out more, click the links in the description below. And if you like this video, tell YouTube by clicking the like button, and then YouTube will tell me, and then I'll make more videos. That's nice.